You're standing in the shadows of a marble corridor in Florence, 1513. The air smells of wet stone and conspiracy. Niccolo Machiavelli sits at a wooden desk, exiled, forgotten, stripped of power. His hands shake, not from fear, but from rage. He dips his quill in ink and writes words that will haunt the humble for centuries. The man who seeks to be good in all regards must come to ruin among so many who are not good. Outside, the Medici family celebrates. They smile, they bow, they parade their humility before the masses. But in the hidden chambers, they sharpen their knives. Machiavelli knows the truth. Humility is the mask wolves wear before they feast. You've been lied to your entire life. They told you to be humble, to bow your head, to wait your turn, to let others shine while you fade into the background. They said the meek shall inherit the earth. But look around. Who inherits the earth? The meek or those who take it? This is not a lesson in cruelty. This is a warning. Because while you practiced humility, someone else practiced dominance. While you lowered your eyes, they raised their throne. And now you wonder why you're invisible, why your talents go unnoticed, why the world walks over you like dust on ancient stones. If you're ready to see what they've hidden from you, if you're prepared to learn the laws that separate the powerless from the powerful, type the words "I rise" in the comments below. This is your first test. Only those who declare their ambition will enter the secret circle. History is written by the bold, not the humble. When Napoleon crowned himself emperor in Notre Dame, he didn't wait for someone to place the crown on his head. He seized it with his own hands and declared, "I am the revolution." When Saladin reclaimed Jerusalem, he didn't ask permission from those who doubted him. He moved with the force of divine certainty. But you've been waiting for someone to notice you, waiting for permission to rise, waiting for the world to reward your quiet goodness. And while you wait, the throne you deserve sits empty, or worse, occupied by someone less worthy but more willing to claim it. Machiavelli understood what the priests and poets refused to admit. The world is not a moral stage where virtue is rewarded. It is a battlefield where perception is power, and humility is the white flag you wave before defeat. The question is not whether you are good. The question is whether you are seen, whether you are feared, whether you are remembered. Tonight, you will learn the 7 laws that the powerful guard like sacred texts. You will discover why humility has kept you chained, while others who are less talented, less intelligent, less deserving have risen to heights you only dream of. And by the end, you will face a choice. Remain in the comfortable shadows of humility, or step into the dangerous light of power. The game has already begun, and you're already losing. Let's go back to the beginning, to the moment when humility became a weapon used against you. Rome, 44 BC. Julius Caesar lies bleeding on the Senate floor, 23 knife wounds marking his body. His assassins are not his enemies, they are his friends, men he trusted, men he elevated, men who whispered, "We are humble servants of the Republic," while they plotted his murder in the dark. And what was Caesar's crime? He became too visible, too powerful, too bold. The senators who killed him preached humility. They spoke of tradition, of honor, of serving Rome rather than oneself.
But the moment Caesar fell, they scrambled over his corpse to claim his power. Humility was the story they told the masses while they crowned themselves in private. Fast forward to the Renaissance. Machiavelli watches the same pattern repeat like a curse. The Medici family returns to Florence not through humility, but through strategic brutality and calculated generosity. They fund art, they build churches, they smile at the people. But behind palace doors, they eliminate rivals with poison and politics. Pope Alexander VI, a Medici ally, doesn't pray for power. He takes it, placing his illegitimate children in positions of authority and rewriting religious law to suit his ambitions. Ibn Khaldun, the great Arab historian, documented this truth centuries before Machiavelli. He studied the rise and fall of dynasties across North Africa and the Middle East. His conclusion? Humility is a virtue only for those who have already secured power. For those seeking it, humility is suicide. The Berber tribes who conquered Spain didn't ask politely. The Abbasid Caliphate didn't rise through modesty. They understood that history belongs to those who seize it. Napoleon Bonaparte, born to a minor noble family in Corsica, had every reason to be humble. He was short by the standards of military men. He was foreign in France. He was young and inexperienced. But Napoleon refused the cage of humility. At age 26, he led the Italian campaign and announced himself as a force of nature. He didn't wait for promotion. He didn't defer to older generals. He took command through sheer audacity and brilliance, and he never apologized for it. Even in the East, Sun Tzu's Art of War teaches that deception is superior to humility. Appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. Notice he doesn't say, be humble. He says, appear humble when it serves your strategy, then strike with overwhelming force when the moment arrives. The pattern is clear across continents and centuries. Those who rise are those who refuse to shrink. Those who win are those who make themselves impossible to ignore. Humility is not the path to power. It is the prison that keeps you from it. And yet you were taught the opposite. You were taught that humility would be rewarded, that patience would be recognized, that good work speaks for itself. But does it? Or does it whisper while others shout?
In the theater of power, those who cannot be seen cannot survive. Picture the court of Louis XIV, the Sun King, at Versailles. The palace blazes with mirrors, gold, and light. Louis doesn't govern from a shadowy office. He doesn't lead through humble service. He creates the most spectacular monarchy in European history, and he places himself at the center of it like a living sun. Every noble must orbit around him. Every eye must find him. He declares, "L'État, c'est moi." I am the state. This is not arrogance. This is survival. Because in the same palace, nobles who choose humility are forgotten within weeks. They fade into the elaborate wallpaper. They become servants, not princes. Meanwhile, those who dress magnificently, who speak boldly, who make their presence undeniable, these are the ones who shape policy and secure their family's future for generations. You think this is ancient history? Walk into any modern corporation. Who gets promoted? The one who quietly does excellent work and hopes someone notices? Or the one who ensures their achievements are visible, who presents their ideas with confidence, who makes certain that when success happens, their name is attached to it? Steve Jobs didn't build Apple through humility. He built it through what his critics called reality distortion field, the ability to make people see his vision so clearly that they would sacrifice everything to achieve it. Was he kind? Not always. Was he humble? Never. Was he transformative? Undeniably. Elon Musk doesn't tweet humbly about his companies. He makes bold, impossible-sounding claims that keep the world's attention locked on him. Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink.
Each announcement is designed for maximum visibility. And while critics call him arrogant, he lands rockets on floating platforms and sends cars into space. The law is simple but brutal. If you are not seen, you do not exist in the calculations of power. Humility makes you invisible, and invisibility is indistinguishable from worthlessness in the eyes of those who distribute resources, opportunities, and influence. Machiavelli watched Lorenzo de' Medici understand this perfectly. Lorenzo didn't just govern Florence, he staged himself as Lorenzo the Magnificent. He commissioned art that would be remembered for centuries. He held festivals that made Florence the center of the world. His humility would have meant the end of the Medici line. His magnificence meant dynasty. The harsh truth? Your talents mean nothing if no one knows about them. Your ethics mean nothing if no one sees them in action. Your potential means nothing if you hide it behind false modesty. The world is too loud, too crowded, too competitive for silent virtue. Visibility is not vanity. Visibility is the difference between influence and irrelevance, between shaping your destiny and having it shaped for you, between being a player in the game and being a piece on someone else's board. The question is not whether you are good enough. The question is whether anyone knows you are.
Law 2. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Machiavelli's most famous and most misunderstood principle. But before you dismiss it as cruelty, let me show you what it really means. Cesare Borgia, the illegitimate son of Pope Alexander VI, inherits a fractured region in central Italy. Chaos reigns. Local lords betray each other weekly. The people suffer under constant warfare and instability. Cesare has a choice: be a beloved, gentle ruler who pleads for peace, or be a force so terrifying that even the thought of rebellion dies before it forms. He chooses fear. He appoints Ramiro de Orco, a brutal enforcer, to pacify the region through ruthless efficiency. Order is restored. Then, in a masterstroke, Cesare executes Ramiro in the public square, placing his body on display. The message is clear: I will bring order, even if it requires violence, but I will not tolerate excessive cruelty. The region stabilizes, trade flourishes, the people are safe. Not because they loved Cesare, but because they feared chaos more than they feared him. Now consider the alternative. Consider the ruler who seeks only to be loved, who makes promises to please everyone, who avoids difficult decisions because they might upset people. What happens? Rivals sense weakness. Allies demand more concessions. Enemies circle like wolves around wounded prey. And when the crisis comes, all that love evaporates like morning mist. King Louis XVI of France wanted to be loved by his people. He was gentle, well-meaning, indecisive. He hesitated to use force even when revolution threatened the monarchy. His humility and his desire to be loved by the masses did not save him. It led him to the guillotine while crowds cheered his execution. This is not about being cruel. This is about understanding human nature. People respect boundaries enforced with consequences. They trust strength more than they trust kindness, because strength is predictable. A feared leader is taken seriously. Their words carry weight. Their deadlines are met. Their standards are maintained. But a leader who only seeks love? Their words are suggestions. Their deadlines are negotiable. Their standards flexible. And soon they are not leading at all. They are pleading. In your own life, think about the bosses you've had. The kind ones who let everything slide. Were they respected? Did their teams perform? Or did people take advantage of their niceness, turning flexibility into chaos? Now think of the demanding ones, the ones who held firm standards. You might not have loved them in the moment, but didn't you respect them? Didn't you perform better under their watch?
Fear is not about tyranny. Fear is about certainty. It's about knowing that actions have consequences, that excellence is expected, that mediocrity is not acceptable. Love is wonderful when you have it, but it is unreliable. It changes with mood and circumstance. Fear, properly calibrated, is a foundation upon which you can build something lasting. The humble leader seeks to be loved. The powerful leader ensures they are respected, and respect, at its core, contains an element of fear.
Law 3. Your reputation is not what you are. It is what people believe you are. And belief shapes reality more than truth ever could. Alexander the Great understood this at age 20. Before he conquered Persia, before he reached India, before he became legend, he was a young Macedonian king that no one took seriously. The Greek city-states mocked him. The Persians dismissed him as a barbarian child playing at war. So Alexander did something brilliant. He didn't just win battles, he won them in ways that seemed impossible. He cut the Gordian knot with his sword when others tried to untangle it delicately, declaring that bold action matters more than careful tradition. He led cavalry charges personally, putting himself in mortal danger, showing that he feared nothing. He treated defeated enemies with calculated generosity, making himself seem magnanimous. Each action was designed to build a reputation. Alexander is unstoppable. Alexander is divinely favored. Alexander cannot be defeated. And once that reputation took hold, cities surrendered before he arrived. Armies fled before engaging. Kings sought peace rather than war. The reputation became a weapon more powerful than his army. Now look at Cleopatra. History remembers her as one of the most powerful women who ever lived. But was she the most beautiful? Ancient sources suggest she was not. Was she the most politically experienced? No. So how did she command Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, two of the most powerful men in Rome? Through reputation. She crafted an image of herself as divine, exotic, irresistible. She arrived to meet Mark Antony on a golden barge, dressed as the goddess Venus, surrounded by luxury and mystique. She spoke multiple languages. She was educated beyond any Roman woman. She made herself into something more than human. And it worked, not because it was true, but because everyone believed it was true. And belief moves empires. In our modern world, this law has only grown stronger. Your online presence is your reputation. Your LinkedIn profile, your social media, the way you present yourself in meetings. These create a reality in other people's minds that matters more than your actual skills. Two candidates have the same qualifications. One has carefully built a reputation as an expert through articles, posts, and strategic visibility. The other has done excellent work in silence. Who gets the opportunity? The one whose reputation precedes them. The humble person believes that good work will speak for itself. But work is silent. Only people speak. And they speak about those who have reputations worth discussing. Machiavelli warned, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." Translation? Most people will never know the real you. They will only know your reputation. So you must control that narrative or others will control it for you. Guard your reputation like a fortress. Build it deliberately. Repair damage immediately. And understand that in the game of power, perception is not a distortion of reality. Perception is reality. The question is simple. What reputation are you building? And is it by design or by accident? Law 4. Knowledge is power only when others lack it. The master of secrets controls the board while others play the game. Venice, 1500s. The city-state shouldn't exist. It's built on water, has no natural resources, no army that can match the great European powers. Yet, Venice becomes one of the wealthiest and most feared entities in the world. How? Through information. The Venetian intelligence network is unmatched. They have spies in every court, agents in every major port, informants in every guild. They know about threats before the threats know themselves. They know market conditions before traders, military movements before generals, political shifts before kings. This information network allows Venice to negotiate from strength, to trade with precision, to avoid wars they can't win, and provoke conflicts that benefit them. They turn information into gold, into influence, into survival. Cardinal Richelieu, the true power behind the French throne in the 1600s, creates a similar system. He has agents everywhere. He reads intercepted letters. He knows what nobles say in private. He knows who is loyal and who is planning betrayal. This network of knowledge makes him untouchable. Even the king cannot move against him because Richelieu knows everything. The humble person shares information freely. They believe in transparency, in open communication, in helping others with what they know. And they wonder why they never gain leverage, why they're never in the inner circle, why decisions are made without them. The powerful understand that information is currency. And like any currency, its value depends on scarcity. If everyone knows what you know, your knowledge is worthless. But if you know something that others desperately need, you become indispensable. In modern corporations, who has real power? Not always the CEO. Often it's the person who knows where all the bodies are buried. The assistant who has been there for 20 years and knows every secret. The IT person who can access everything. The accountant who knows the real numbers. These people are feared and respected because they possess information that others need. In negotiations, the person with better information wins. The buyer who knows the seller is desperate gets a better price. The employee who knows the company is hemorrhaging talent asks for a higher salary. The investor who has inside information makes better decisions. But here's the deeper truth. It's not just about gathering information. It's about controlling its flow. Knowing when to reveal what you know. Knowing when silence is more powerful than disclosure. Knowing how to leak information strategically to shape narratives and influence decisions. Sun Tzu devoted entire chapters to this. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. But he also taught that spies are the most valuable asset in war. Information wins before swords are drawn. The humble person operates in the light, sharing everything. The powerful operate in the shadows, gathering everything. They listen more than they speak. They ask questions that extract information while revealing nothing. They build networks not of friendship, but of intelligence. Your network should not be people who like you. Your network should be people who give you access to information, to opportunities, to insights that others don't have. In a world where everyone has access to Google, the power belongs to those who know what questions to ask and whom to ask them to.
Law 5. Personal power dies with you. Structural power becomes immortal. Build systems, not monuments to yourself. Rome, 27 BC. Augustus Caesar faces an impossible challenge. His great-uncle Julius was assassinated for appearing too much like a king. The Republic hates monarchy. Yet Augustus must consolidate power or watch Rome tear itself apart in civil war again. So he does something brilliant. He doesn't call himself king or emperor. He takes the modest title princeps, first citizen. He claims to have restored the Republic. But quietly, systematically, he restructures every institution to flow through him. The Senate still exists, but has no real power. The legions answer to him alone. The treasury is under his control. The provinces are governed by his appointees. He doesn't destroy the republic, he hollows it out and fills it with his own system. When he dies, the system continues. His successors inherit not just power, but the machinery of power. The Roman Empire lasts 500 more years not because of Augustus's personal brilliance, but because of the system he built. Compare this to Alexander the Great. Brilliant general, legendary warrior. At 32, he has conquered the known world. Then he dies, and within years, his empire fragments into pieces because he built nothing permanent. He was the system. When he died, the system died. Saladin understands this when he unifies the fractured Muslim territories. He doesn't just win military victories. He reforms the legal system, reorganizes the army structure, builds alliances through marriages and trade agreements, establishes religious schools to train future leaders. When he dies, the Ayyubid dynasty continues for generations because the structure survives the man. The humble person tries to do everything themselves. They become indispensable, which feels like power, but is actually a trap. Because if you're indispensable, you can never leave. You can never scale. You can never rest. And the moment you fail or fall, everything collapses. The powerful build systems. They create processes that work without them. They train others to execute their vision. They document their methods. They build institutions that carry their principles forward. In business, this is the difference between entrepreneurs who build companies versus those who build jobs for themselves. Steve Jobs didn't just create great products. He created a culture and system at Apple that continues to innovate years after his death. Ray Kroc didn't just sell hamburgers. He created a franchise system that could replicate McDonald's in every country on Earth. In personal influence, this means creating methodologies, frameworks, schools of thought. Machiavelli has been dead for 500 years, but his principles still shape political strategy worldwide. Why? He didn't just practice power, he systematized it into laws that others could learn and apply. The question you must ask yourself, are you building a career or building a legacy? Are you trying to be indispensable or trying to create something that will be indispensable even after you're gone? Humility keeps you at the center, working harder, burning out, staying small. Strategy builds systems that multiply your influence beyond your lifetime. Personal power is temporary. Structural power is eternal. Which are you building?
Law 6. Your allies are not your friends. Your rivals are not your enemies. Both are forces to be managed with cold precision. Otto von Bismarck, the Iron Chancellor who unified Germany, masters this law perfectly. When he needs Austria as an ally against Denmark, he partners with them warmly. 2 years later, when Austria blocks his vision for Germany, he goes to war against them. He defeats Austria, then immediately offers generous peace terms, because he knows he will need them as an ally against France. 3 years later, Austria remains neutral when Bismarck crushes France and creates the German Empire. He uses the same pattern with Russia, with Britain, with the German princes. Ally, rival, ally again. The relationships shift based on strategic needs, not emotional attachments. And it works. Germany becomes a great power because Bismarck treats relationships as tools, not as permanent commitments. The humble person believes loyalty is everything. They stay loyal to allies even when those allies no longer serve their interests. They hold grudges against rivals even when cooperation would benefit both sides. They confuse business with friendship, strategy with emotion. This is fatal. In Renaissance Italy, the various city-states form and break alliances monthly. Venice allies with Milan against Florence. Then Florence and Milan unite against Venice. Then all three join together against invading France. There is no permanent loyalty. There is only permanent interest. Machiavelli observes this and writes, "Wise rulers never keep faith when doing so would be against their interest." This sounds cynical until you realize he's describing the natural order of power. Nations don't have friends, they have interests. But here's the subtle truth that the purely ruthless miss. You must manage these relationships so skillfully that people still want to work with you. Bismarck didn't betray people in ways that made them permanent enemies. He defeated them, then offered them a path back to partnership. He was ruthless, but not cruel. Strategic, but not vindictive. The art is in calibration. You keep allies close while they serve your mutual interests. You maintain the appearance of loyalty while preparing for the day when interests diverge. You treat rivals with respect because today's rival might be tomorrow's ally. In your career, this means the colleague who competes with you for promotion is not your enemy. They are your rival. Today you compete. Tomorrow you might collaborate. The executive who blocks your project today might champion your next one if you handle the relationship correctly. The mistake is thinking in permanent categories, permanent friends, permanent enemies. Nothing is permanent except change. The powerful adapt to changing circumstances. They cooperate when cooperation serves them. They compete when competition serves them. They switch between the two with no guilt because they understand this is the nature of the game. Your allies should make you stronger. The moment they make you weaker, the alliance must be reconsidered. Your rivals should push you to improve. The moment cooperation with them creates more value than competition, explore partnership. This is not betrayal. This is strategy. Because in the end, the only permanent loyalty is to your vision, your mission, your legacy. Everything else is negotiable. The amateur plays with emotion. The professional plays with calculation. Which are you?
Law 7. The powerful see beyond the immediate crisis. They think in decades while others panic about tomorrow. Prussia, 1806. Napoleon has just crushed the Prussian army at Jena. The kingdom is humiliated, occupied, reduced to a shadow of its former power. Most leaders would focus on immediate survival, on appeasing Napoleon, on getting through the crisis. But three men, Stein, Hardenberg, and Gneisenau, look beyond the disaster. They see an opportunity. While Prussia is weak, they begin fundamental reforms. They abolish serfdom. They reorganize the army. They create a new education system. They modernize the bureaucracy. These changes take years and won't show results immediately. But 7 years later, when Europe rises against Napoleon, Prussia is transformed. The reforms have created a modern state with a motivated population and a professional army. They help defeat Napoleon at Leipzig and Waterloo. By 1871, Prussia leads the unification of Germany and becomes a great power. The vision planted during the darkest hour bears fruit decades later. This is the opposite of humble short-term thinking. The humble person reacts to immediate problems. They put out today's fires. They seek quick wins. They think in terms of this quarter, this year, this immediate crisis. They survive but never transcend. The powerful think generationally. Deng Xiaoping reforms China and says the results will take 50 years. He plants trees he will never sit under. Lee Kuan Yew transforms Singapore from a poor port into a first-world nation in 1 generation by maintaining a vision across decades. They endure criticism, resistance, and doubt because they see a future others cannot imagine. In your own life, this means having a vision that extends beyond your current circumstances. It means making investments today that won't pay off for years. It means building skills that aren't immediately useful but will be essential later. It means sacrificing short-term comfort for long-term dominance.
The corporate leader who focuses only on next quarter's earnings destroys long-term value. The one who invests in research, in culture, in infrastructure, even when it hurts short-term profits, builds an empire. The person who learns difficult skills, who builds meaningful relationships, who invests in their reputation and knowledge, even when there's no immediate payoff. This person is playing a different game. They're not trying to win today. They're positioning themselves to dominate tomorrow. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, writes, "Confine yourself to the present." But he doesn't mean ignore the future. He means don't be paralyzed by it. Act in the present with the future in mind. Make today's decisions based on where you want to be in 10 years. The storm you're in right now, it's temporary. The question is, when the storm passes, will you emerge in the same position, or will you have used the chaos to transform yourself? Humility accepts circumstances. Vision transcends them. Humility focuses on surviving the present. Power focuses on dominating the future. Think in decades, build in years, win in moments. But never lose sight of where you're really going. The horizon is not the limit. It's the starting point.
You've reached the end, but this is not an ending. It is a threshold. 10 laws, 10 principles that separate those who rise from those who remain. Not because the laws are secret. Machiavelli published them 5 centuries ago. Not because they're complicated. Each one can be stated in a sentence. But because they require something most people cannot give, the willingness to abandon comfortable illusions. The comfortable illusion that humility will be rewarded, that patience will be recognized, that goodness speaks for itself, that the world is fair and just and meritocratic, that if you just keep your head down and do good work, eventually someone will notice. But you know better now. You've seen the pattern across millennia, from the palaces of Renaissance Florence to the boardrooms of Silicon Valley, from the battlefields of ancient Rome to the negotiating tables of modern corporations. The pattern never changes because human nature never changes. Power flows to those who make themselves visible, to those who are feared and respected more than loved, to those who control their reputation, to those who master information, to those who build systems, to those who manage relationships strategically, to those who think beyond the immediate storm. These are not moral laws, they are natural laws, like gravity. You can deny gravity all you want, it still pulls you down. You can deny these laws of power all you want, they still govern your life. The question has never been whether these laws exist. The question is whether you will use them or be used by them. Because while you choose humility, someone else is choosing visibility. While you hope to be noticed, someone else is ensuring they cannot be ignored. While you wait for fairness, someone else is creating the conditions for their victory. Machiavelli was not teaching evil. He was revealing reality. He was ripping away the comforting stories we tell ourselves about how the world should work and showing us how it actually works. He was giving tools to those brave enough to use them. The choice before you is simple but not easy. Remain as you are, comfortable in your humility, wondering why others advance while you stagnate. Or step into the uncomfortable truth that power is not given to the deserving. It is taken by the determined. This is not about becoming cruel. This is about becoming effective. This is not about abandoning ethics. This is about understanding that ethics without power is just philosophy. Power without ethics is tyranny. But ethics combined with power, that can change the world. If you've made it this far, you are not like the others. You did not turn away when the truth became uncomfortable. You did not defend your illusions when they were challenged. You faced the mirror Machiavelli held up to reality, and you did not blink. So here is your final test, your final choice. Subscribe to this channel now. Join the secret circle of those who see clearly, because the next lessons go deeper, the next laws cut sharper, the next truths demand even more courage. The game of power never ends, but it does have winners and losers. The winners are watching this video and taking action. The losers are waiting for permission that will never come. Type "I rise" one more time in the comments, not for me, for you, to declare to yourself that you will no longer accept invisibility, that you will no longer confuse humility with virtue, that you are ready to claim the power that has always been yours to take. Welcome to the Secret Circle. Your ascension begins now.